Let's go to Peter Bleksley now, as former Scotland Yard detective. Good morning to you, Peter.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. We spoke to you yesterday, of course, when we were still trying to really identify what on earth was going on in this awful story. Now a much clearer picture has emerged, but we still don't know perhaps a motive, and we still don't know too much about the identity of the man in custody.
No, so we'll have to be a bit patient. I'm sure that as soon as charges are brought, if they're brought, I'm very confident that they will be, then the man will be named and everybody in the media can start doing their digging if they haven't already done so, and we'll find out the background to this individual.
And it is important to know that, I mean, when we spoke to you yesterday, remember you said, you know, your son is a university student in Nottingham, so you were very relieved finally to your wife able to get hold of him and establish that he was safe. And I think there'll be an awful lot of parents who were making those frantic calls and messages yesterday, desperate to find out that their child was not one of the victims. Unfortunately, two sets of parents will have found out that sadly their youngsters were, and of course another man yet to be named, 51-year-old victim, and another person critically ill in hospital still after the running over of people at a bus stop. There seems to be this view that sort of a lot of people thought this had the trappings of an Islamist terror attack. Early on, there was a feeling that, you know, a knife attack, different locations, ramming people at a bus stop. This could have been an Islamist terror attack. And then we're told, you know, it's more likely there are mental health problems. There seems to be an urge by the authorities, by the police, by many to sort of go, oh, it's mental health. Oh, OK, let's move on then. But if we are talking about someone who's come to live in this country with serious mental health problems and reports claiming that he had a history of violence, if not a criminal record for violence, we have a right to raise concerns about that, don't we?
Absolutely. Of course we do. As a nation, we have the right to know the identity and the background of everybody that's coming into our country. And there's nothing adverse about that in the slightest. It's what other flagship democracies do throughout the world. Of course we should know the name, the identity, the background and the intentions of anybody that seeks to make their life in the UK. And many people, of course, have done that brilliantly and are very welcome. But this mental health rumours that start circulating enrage me. Let's wait and see. There is absolutely no need for people to try and get some form of mitigation together for this individual before they've even been charged. What we do know, what the facts are, is that somebody yesterday went on a murderous rampage, and dear Barnaby and Grace have tragically lost their lives. They were teenagers on the very cusp of enjoying their lives, and that's been snuffed out together with the older man who's yet to be named. Let's not package it up any other way than a murderous rampage. And
this is the thing. We've seen cases again and again. We see, you know, what's happened. Things happen in Sweden, in Germany, in France. We see these reports. People immediately say, oh, is it going to be terror? And then we're told, no, it's a mental health problem. As if that's not an issue for people. And as if, actually, a lot of the terrorist attacks are motivated by people who I would say, the urge to kill random people is fairly good evidence of some sort of mental illness, I would suggest. But a lot of people are saying, look, this is latest example, and we've had this with the stabbings of the toddlers, including a British toddler in Annecy in France only last week, of, you know, someone someone who may be legally in the country, but who doesn't need to be in the country, wasn't born in this country, who's here, who is clearly a problem, who is still in this country. Now, a lot of people, you know, the bleeding heart liberals will be all sort of, this is outrageous, this is xenophobia, this is racism, and let's just throw the R word at everyone. But the British people have a right, as you say, to know whether somebody who is living in this country is a threat to them or not.
They most certainly do. I want to know whether my neighbours are a threat to me, my wife, my children. Everybody should. That doesn't mean to say that we go kicking down people's doors and carrying out some form of Spanish Inquisition to find out everybody's motives. We're a civilised nation.
Yeah. But there is that feeling that we simply do not check the backgrounds. We do not make enough checks on people coming into this country. And again, this may have been 10, 15 years ago that this man arrived. When in his teenage years, and the suspect in custody currently is 31 years old. But But there is this concern that, pretty much anyone can come to this country and has come to this country, and we don't seem to care until something awful happens.
We should, and I make no apology for repeating myself here, we should, as a nation, be entirely entitled to know the names, identities, background and motives of anyone coming to these fair shores. That's simple. It's not racist. It's not prejudicial in any way, shape or form. It's just what our nation should come to expect.
Brilliant to talk to you, as always, Peter Bleksley. Quick word from Benedict Spence on what he had to say there.
I mean, it is interesting, of course, that there is very quickly the sort of the rush to say, mental health issues are at play, rather than, because very often, if it's any other crime, then the police might say, we're keeping an open mind, but it's the rush to say specifically mental health. And as you say, you kind of take that as a given when there's any sort of suggestion of a murderous rampage. It's very rare that, methodical killers go around in this way.
It's not a sane thing to do.
It's not a sane thing to do, no. Especially, the getting in the vehicle and then trying to mow down people. There's an element of almost seems to be mania.
We've got our own fair share of nutters and bad people in this country. Let's not import anyone else's.
Exactly.
That would be my suggestion.
And also, the other thing to remember is mental health does not necessarily mean you go straight towards rampaging and murdering people, actually.
Most people who are mentally ill more likely to harm themselves than others.
Exactly.
Indeed, absolutely. Benedict Spence, thank you very much indeed for that. We're going to get to a couple of your calls about Donald Trump up next, and we're going to talk to the wonderful Carol Sikora about what we heard from the new COVID inquiry, of opening of the COVID inquiry hearings yesterday. This is Talk Breakfast.